Start the video. And there's my infinite screen. All right. E-learners, I thought the video on Friday came out okay. If you're having problems seeing it, let me know. But I looked at it and I thought it was pretty good. All right. Any questions on the homework? And it's Monday. My wife gets on me all the time. How come your phone's on silent? Because I'm a teacher. So she'll like call me or text me on the weekend, for something, and I won't answer it, and she'll think I hate her or something. That's my dad. What? I don't even mess with my phone. I literally told my wife, I was like, I don't need a phone. Why do I spend all this money on a phone? I don't even use the darn thing.
I'll take it. That'll make me have 3 phones. Actually, technically 4. Oh, the 2 that we don't use.
All right. Any questions on the homework? To include you, Jenna, as well. Questions on the homework?
No, you do. Yes, you do.
I'm not.
Questions?
I'm what they call mid-class.
Mid-class. Are you sitting?
All right. Hey, let's put our attention up here. 378. Any questions, or was it pretty straightforward?
Oh, I didn't do it.
I didn't do it either.
I didn't do it.
Hey, let me be perfectly clear. Right, your job as a student is to do your homework. Right, I will never forget to put a 0 in the grade book. Right, if you're not doing your homework, then you're not seeing how the questions will appear on the test. Right, do your homework every single night. Right, you're in high school. It's not 4th or 5th grade anymore. You can't just kind of show up, breathe oxygen, and be able to pass. And as you're learning in chemistry every day now, right? Right. So make sure. Yes.
Leave. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. You can help me teach the class to these knuckleheads.
Oh God.
Okay, guys.
All right.
We have time to say, let's go. You will start as a human ladder, okay? The rest of you will stack out. I'll climb down and escape, okay?
All right. Let's get some accomplished here. All right. Back up here. All right. Here we go. For those of you that did do your homework, everything is a construction, meaning that I can't say, well, this is the answer. It's a construction, meaning that you have to physically draw things on a piece of paper that I have to look at. In fact, the book, right, here's the teacher book with the answers. There's nothing there because everything is a picture. So I have to look at your pictures. So I will do that. So if there are no questions, then all I'm doing is collecting your homework. All right. Collect the homework. All right, for the rest of you, let's see what we got going on today. Today is more constructions. Now, some of you, rightfully so, may have looked at the stuff that we did on Friday and say, well, my word, this is easy. Those were the easy constructions. The ones we're doing today are the more challenging ones. Okay, so today we're doing some challenging constructions, and then one of these, I forget which one, has some challenging constructions too. We're going to take a pause because if we aren't practicing these constructions, you're not going to memorize them. It's also, it has to be in your book of truth, the instructions, right? I'm going to give you the instructions itself, right? You can choose to write my words down. My words don't match exactly what is in the what's in the book. The instructions in the book match it specifically to one specific picture where you have things labeled a certain way. I make mine very general, very general. Today, you're going to notice that I have written the instructions for you. This doesn't mean that you can blow it off and not write these in your book of truth. In fact, it's worse. What it means is that you have to, on your own, write everything that's on this sheet of paper in your book of truth. Now, I've tried this a couple different ways, classes, waiting for kids to write down the instructions, and I find that it just takes too much time. And it doesn't give us the amount of time to actually do some practice. So I've already written, we're going to do 4 constructions today. I've already written the instructions down. There's nothing to copy down. I need you to do 2 things. One, I need you to read the text. If it makes sense to you, great. If it doesn't, then you ask a question. Wait, what's that step mean to do? And then 2, I need you to do the construction. Of all the constructions, the last one is the most challenging one. It's generally the one that kids can't remember what to do. There's no remember what to do. It's in your book of truth. So when a kid can't construct a parallel line, I know what happened. One, they either didn't have the instructions written in their book, or they wrote the instructions down, they didn't practice it, and you get to test day and they literally can't make a parallel line, which is crazy because it's not that much hard. It's the hardest one so far, but it's not that much more hard. All right. So once again, we're going to have 3 days of constructions, then we're going to take a review, and we're going to take a quiz, and then we'll learn some more constructions as we go along. I think we only will need 1 day of review. We might need, I don't know, we'll see when we get closer to chapter test. By the way, spring break is pretty darn close. I think it's like 1 more week after this, and then the spring break, something like that.
Yeah.
How long?
All right, spring break's a week.
Yeah.
All right, here's your homework. Hey, let's not get to the point where we're making a habit of not doing homework. Like when there's
All right,
3
make a
people, Connor, when you don't do your homework, you're not getting any practice.
Only one person did it.
Okay.
So she's-
Matt? There's a reason why when we get to test day, you're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, but I'm saying you don't do those either. Sometimes isn't always.
The ones I do them, I pass the.
I want it to be always. All right, up here, let's get going. So 1 through 10, all page 383, 384. All right, here we go. So today we're going to be making perpendiculars and parallel lines. All right, you don't need to write this down. Remember, there are 2 tools that we're going to be using: a straight edge. That's just an edge that's used to make segments or lines. The compass is used to measure things. By the way, you've already done the 1 circle. That's it. No more circles. All the other constructions don't involve circles. They involve other shapes, right? So the compass is primarily used to measure things. And I don't mean like, well, this one is 2 centimeters. It's just a one discrete measurement. It's this long, basically. Okay. Well, we're going to be doing this entire chapter called construct. There's 1 or 2 sections where we do something else, but for the most part, we're just doing constructions. All right, here we go. And this is the same slide that I showed you on Friday. So what do we do in this chapter? We're drawing, we're constructing things. It is your job to learn these constructions, right? As I show you the step, you stop me for like, what in the world does that mean, right? Don't let me go past a step and you're unclear of what that step means. If you are paying attention, I can promise you this. Every step's pretty simple. All together can be a little bit confusing because there's lots of steps. So it's like learning, I don't know if you guys play sports, but you're on a sports team and they show you a complicated play. You might understand every individual pieces part, but you kind of forget when you have to put them all together. That's a common occurrence in constructions as well too. But since it can be written in your book of truth, that part goes away, but you have to be able to do each individual step. Okay. You got to be able to replicate. The test is going to be this. I'm going to ask you to make a perpendicular line through this point to the given line. Right? That's one of the constructions we're doing today. Make a line parallel to this line. And no, you can't freehand it. You have to show me. How do I grade this? I look for the marks on your paper that shows me that you did the construction the correct way. It'll be very clear. The marks have to be there. Okay? If you can follow instructions, like the people that can always follow instructions, this is the easiest A of the entire book. Like it's a guaranteed A. It's just following some simple instructions. Only a few of these are confusing. Today we get the parallel line one's a little confusing. Okay. All right, so today they're easy. Once again, they're extremely hard to remember because a lot of these have 8, 9 steps to them. All right. I don't want you to do a single step if you don't understand what you're doing. Like what did you just do? Where did you put your compass? What did you measure? That sort of thing. Right? Yes, you probably might not understand the whole darn thing, but you should understand every step that we do. All right. read and make sure it makes sense to you. I mean, these are my words. These aren't the book words either. If you want, Chandler has his book open. If the book's explanation makes it easier for you, you can write theirs as well too. I'm not going to tell you what you have to have in your book of truth. First construction, we're going to make a perpendicular bisector. All right, perpendicular bisector. All right, Matt, read me step one.
Open the compass to more than half the length of the given segment.
Okay, so we need to open our compass so that the distance between the two arms is more than half of the way across that given segment. So step number one, and I'm gonna get it up on the board. Step number one is we open up our compass so that it is more than, you see this one, that's less than halfway. If we do it like this, well, clearly we can't get to the bisector if it's only open halfway. So we have to open up to more than halfway. And by the way, it doesn't give any directions of what does more than mean, just more than.
Can we just do the whole thing?
You could. Now, you might run into a problem, you run out of paper, but you certainly could. Because that would be more than halfway. Okay, I got mine. Jenna, are you online? I thought I saw her come up. Was it Bree? Bree, you online? All right.
Yes.
So, can you see the board?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I have it open up to more than halfway, and it says draw an arc from one of the endpoints above and below. This is where you might run into the problem that you've opened it up too large. So watch me. I'm going to go from point A, and I'm going to make an arc above it and below it. Okay? That's step one. Do not change the distance. That'll be the next step. Halfway, and then go to either A or B and make an arc above it and below it. Do you see how I did it? Yeah, do it like that.
But no, it's more than half. More than half.
Well, there's no halfway mark, so it's all right. Step number two, read, Matt.
Why me?
Because you're a good reader.
Without changing the radius of the compass, draw two more arcs above and below the segment from the other end.
We're going to repeat the process. I didn't change any measurement on the other side. You're going to see that they intersect. So I go to point B, and I make an arc above it. Notice they, I'm holding it. Notice they intersect. And on the bottom, they intersect. That's the hardest part of the whole process. Easy one. Very easy.
The hardest part of the whole process is keeping your compass from moving.
Correct. Correct. All right. Is everybody okay on each one of those individual steps? All right.
That's so cool.
Now, even though you can read the instructions, what's the next step?
That's all we need is straight edge.
You see the arcs above have an intersection point, the arcs below have an intersecting point. I simply line those two intersection points up.
Make sure straight edge.
Make sure you're using a straight edge, as Micah just said. We play connect the dots, and where that segment that's a horrible line. Where that segment intersects is supposedly the midpoint. Okay, and it is a perpendicular bisector as well, too, supposedly. Supposedly. All right, she's gone. We can all go to sleep now. We were acting like we were doing math, and we really were taking a nap.
Stop the cat.
Do you remember doing this last year?
Oh, yeah.
Nope. New kids, did you guys do this last year in your geometry class? Yeah, okay. All right. All right, my class, questions. Oh, by the way, we're always going to have the last couple steps, which are labeled. It's the same thing. Easy construction. Can you forget this? Heck yeah, you can. Quickly. All right. Remember, your job was each individual step. You're going to ask me if, we had lots of arguments on last year on this one, right? Or not on this one, but this was the chapter where all the kids were saying I was a crummy teacher and my explanations were horrible. And I was saying, no, it's you guys. And then I read them and like, yeah, they're right. They're crummy. So I read them for this year. At least the ones that we had arguments over. All right, we good this year? All right, moving on. We're only doing 4 of these and there's one. Brianna, we good?
Wait, they're free online.
Do you want to do the class too? I can give you a sheet. I was more worried about this Brianna shanking people last year than I was worried about her. Okay, construction number 2.
You want to come from third.
Don't give her one. Oh my god.
Get don't.
I don't understand.
Last time she was giving herself a tattoo with it. You know? All right,
Sounds fun.
up here. So second construction, it's another perpendicular, but they're going to get, it's not a bisector. It's going to go through a given point. So they're going to give you a segment. They're going to give you a point on the segment, and they're going to say, make another line or segment that is perpendicular that goes through C. Everybody see that? Understand the basic setup? All right, reader, read. Step 1.
Open the compass to a radius. Draw arcs from the given point through both sides of the given line.
Okay, so that's pretty generic. I got to explain this one in better detail. So here's what you're going to do. Do you see where point C is? Do you see how much space you got to B and how much space you got to A? One side's bigger than the other. The radius that you make with your compass has to be able to be drawn through the segment. So watch, I'm going to put the pointy part on C, and I need to be able to make an arc that doesn't go past the short side, which in this case is B, right? I could make this side right here really long, but if I went on this side, there's no line over there. So you're going to measure a little bit shorter from C to the other side, the short side. It doesn't say that on step 1. It would just be too much words. Once you get a feel for it, you kind of understand it. All right, who's lost on that? I'm going to open it up so it goes from C to somewhere between C and B, the short side. And by the way, it's literally somewhere. And then I'm going to draw that arc. Okay, so I'm going to go from C to right here on that one side. And then on the other side, I'll do the same thing. See what I did? That's step 1. Like I said, the hardest thing to doing this is keeping the point from just moving around on you. Yeah, put the pointy part on C and then make 2 arcs on each side. But if you had opened up your compass to some distance from C to A, it might be too big for the other side. We good? All right, reader.
Open the compass to a radius larger than the distance from the point to either arc-line intersections. From both arc-line intersection points, draw an arc above and below the line.
All right, this makes perfectly good sense to me. It may not make any sense to you. So here's the idea. This was my previous distance. It says open it up larger. All right, I opened it up larger. Okay. Now I'm going to go not to point C, but the 2 arc intersections. See the arc intersections on AB? I'm going to go to each one of those and do what we did on the previous construction. In other words, I put my point on this intersection and this intersection. I'm not going to have space below, right? But I'm going to make an arc above. And if you got space below, oh, I do have space. What do you know? And then I'm going to not move the distance. I'm going to go to the other arc intersection and do the same thing. Intersect, intersect. That's what you're supposed to do. Does that make sense? You had your previous distance, right? You open it up.
Open it up bigger.
And then I'm going to go from here.
Wait, how'd you get 2 lines above them?
Hold on. I have it like this. I open it up larger. Yes. I'm going to go from here and from here. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, my favorite words. All right.
do the same thing we did on
You
the
got
last
it. Now take your straight edge, last step, or second to last step. All right, Danny, you got the part that I opened it up a little bit larger? Okay, I first opened it up and I made this arc and that arc, yes? Then I opened up a little bit larger and I put my point on here and here, and I make the two arcs, one above, one below. Is that enough or you need more? Okay. And then what most of you already intuitively figured out, the last step is simply connect the intersection points. So if it's done correctly and precisely, you'll notice that it literally goes right through the dot right there. Now notice mine is off slightly because the inaccuracies of doing it by hand are such that, okay, that's how much I was off. The more accurately you can do this, you'll go right through that point if you can do this accurately. Did anybody go right through their point? Well, there you go. Perfect. Okay. Now, I haven't said this, but we're going to stop for a second. We're talking about test day, right? Quiz day. So how do I grade this? So what am I looking for?
These lines.
I'm looking for, I got to be able to see these two arcs. That tells me you did step one. I got to see these two arcs, there's step two, and then the line, step three. That's how I'm going to grade it. The kid that was paying no attention will say, draw a line that's perpendicular. They'll just literally take their compass protractor or their protractor and they'll draw me. We'll have none of those arc markings. Did anybody get a test on the NWEA where they literally had a picture and there was like which markings are correct for this construction? I saw that on somebody's paper. Right? That's a hard one. Nobody remembers this stuff. Like everyone remembers, oh, it was that thing with the compass and it was kind of easy. It's not very memorable. Which is why I hate when they ask that question on a standardized test. I'm like, kids aren't going to remember how to do that. They may remember how to make a segment that's congruent, but that's about it. This was the one that I saw on the test, by the way. And they were saying which marks are correct. All right, I said 4 constructions. This is an easy chapter. It's just constructions. Questions? All right. Construction number 3. Now, it doesn't say construction 3, it's 3 for today. It's construction 5. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Label is your last step. All right, here we go. So this is 3 for today, but 6 in total. 7 if you count the fact that we did circles. Yeah, it's all about perpendicular lines today. So we're going to make, well, now C is not on the line, it's above the line. It's the same thing. It's a different construction. We're going to be making a line that goes through C, or a segment, that is perpendicular to AB. Yeah? Everybody? Okay, reader?
Open the compass to a radius. Draw arcs from the given point through both sides of the given line.
Once again, it doesn't tell you how much to open it up. So here's what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to make arcs on A, B, 2 of them, one on the left side of C, one on the right side of C, that come from point C. So watch me. I'm going to open up my compass so that I can make an arc over here and an arc over here. Okay, I opened it up too large. So maybe a little bit smaller. I put it on C, and I have to be able to make an arc on this side and on this side. See what I did? Doesn't say what the distance is. You got to figure that out yourself. Yeah, Danny? One more time. It's not supposed to hit B. It can hit B. No, it's perfectly fine if you hit B.
As long as you don't go past the point.
Yeah, because if you go past it, by the way, it would actually still work if you put a dotted line, you extended it. It's just, I didn't want to make it too complex. Because then it would have to be extend AB and blah, blah, blah. But
I may do that in the test. Just
you could. By the way, the larger farther away your arcs are, it ends up being more accurate. The closer it is to the center, the least accurate it is. Connor, we good on each step so far? All right. Don't forget your compass. You have to do that. You have to practice this. Just writing steps and looking at them, it's not the same as doing them. All right. Any questions on step 1? Reader, step 2?
Open the compass to a radius larger than the distance from both the arcline intersections.
Kind of sounds like what we just did, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to open up a little bit larger. Once again, your paper is your limiting factor here. And where are we going to go from, Matt?
Larger.
And then where are we going to go?
From both arcline intersection points, draw arcs on the
Yeah,
opposite
so it's that
sides.
same thing that we did in the previous one. We're going to go to this arc line intersection and this arc line intersection with a larger radius, and we're going to make arcs above and below. Above, below. Don't change it. Go to the other arc line intersection. I'm trying to be more accurate this time. Above, right, darn you. And below. Questions?
What happens if we have absolutely not enough room?
Yeah.
Well, as long as you can get either one or above or below. The book never says above and below, it only says on one side. I find it to be easier if you do them both above and below, because sometimes you can get both, sometimes you can only get one. So if the book says always do it above and you got no space, then, right, that's why I always say above and below. Plus you got more things to line up. All right, Chris, take a guess where we're going. You got it. Now just play connect the intersections. Right. Step 3, if you did it right, we should get it going. Oh, I'm right on it this time. Right through C. Whew, at least one of them was right. Boom, look at that. The 4 constructions today, 1, 2, 3. The first 3 have the same flavor. The 4th one is very different. And of course, we always get the label part as well too.
What do we label?
Well, we made a new segment, right? So if we call that A, B, C, we'd call this, I don't know, D, E. So D, E.
What if we forget
And the
to
intersection
draw
point is F. And since it's perpendicular, we could put that as well too.
Did you destroy us if you forgot to do them in the test?
No. Like I said, even though every time I teach this, each individual one, I rarely get pushback on the construction itself. I want to say there's 10, maybe 11 of these total, or maybe it's 14, something like, it's either 10 or 14. It's just in totality, all put together, it just gets jumbled in people's heads. And then on the test, I'll ask to do something seeming like this one. When we did it, like, hey, nobody complained. They said it was pretty easy. We get to test day, and that's why we got practice days as well too. All right, questions. All right.
Does this next one exist? That's my question.
Yeah, and it's you'll understand what's going on when we do it. It's just that it's the most challenging one. It's not that much more challenging. All right. So the last one, yeah, it's already the last one for the class. I got to make a line that's parallel to AB that goes through C. I got to make a line that's parallel to AB that goes through C. Okay. And the other previous ones are kind of self-explanatory, like why does it work? This one seems kind of magical. I'll explain why this one works here in a second. All right, ready? All right, reader.
Draw a line from point A through the given point.
Okay. Longer is better. So I'm going from A through C. Longer is better than shorter. Going from A through C, longer is better. Yeah, that'll work. Hey, guess what I just made?
It's not touching A.
Bite me. All right.
I mean, if you want.
We're not in kindergarten. I was listening to the teachers talking the other day about this kid biting another kid, and I was like, I don't have to worry about that in 10th grade, or do I?
I
You
mean,
probably should.
They
icky. They into that good.
No, I don't like.
Seth is biting Matt?
I mean, like, come on. Seth would probably be the only person actually like try and bite somebody.
All right.
I don't know about that.
All right. Hey, what did I just make?
A line segment.
What did I just make? I made an angle. This is why this one particularly works. What we're going to do is we're going to use the fact that alternate interior or corresponding angles are congruent, right? And those are made when you have two parallel lines cut by transversal. AC is going to be our transversal. We're going to make another line that goes through C that's parallel through AB. But we're going to use that old adage that if we could make a two corresponding angles that are congruent, then by the converse to the corresponding angle theorem, then the two lines have to be paired. What are you guys doing? All right, back up here. All right, second one, go. Read it.
Okay. Open the compass to a radius. From point A, draw an arc that intersects AC and the given segment.
All right, if there's one that will cause problem, it's this step right here. It doesn't say how large to open it up. If you want to make it as accurate as possible, you make it large. The issue is it runs into, it's hard to see the construction if you make it really large, like for understanding. When you actually understand what's going on, yeah, make that sucker as large as possible. But for right now, I'm going to ask you to open it up no farther than somewhere between A and C. Okay? It ends up being more accurate if it's larger, but just to understand what's going on, the arcs just kind of get in the way of each other if we don't do it this way. Once you understand what's going on, you're free to open it up as large as you want. So I'm going to open it up so it's a little bit shorter than AC, and I'm going to make that arc. So there's my arc. Remember on Friday when we made two congruent angles, the first thing we did was we made an arc through the given angle.
It doesn't go past point C.
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's actually far more accurate and the better construction if you make it larger. Just the arcs will get in their way and you'll be like, which arc are you talking about? So for right now, for the first one that I do, I'm going to make it smaller than AC, but it can be larger. Now, once that's done, look at your picture and imagine that there's a line that goes through C that's parallel to AB. Can you imagine that line in your head? Right? We are going to make that same arc go through that line, the imaginary line. It won't be imaginary when we're done. So I'm going to, not changing the distance, this is step 3, not changing the distance, I'm going to put my point on point C, and I'm going to do the same thing as I did for A. I'm going to make an arc. Make your arc nice and large. It doesn't have to go through AB, though. But what it does have to is it does have to go through the imaginary line that goes through C that eventually will be parallel. If you only draw it going through AC and it's not far enough, we need to find that point where it goes through. And then you're supposed to stop me if you're clueless. Like, what did you just do? Okay.
I'm like basically having it.
I was just.
We don't need to keep that distance on the compass.
Not for the next one, no. But it needed to be the same distance for the two arcs, though. Matt? First and second arc had to be the same distance. Do you remember when we made the congruent arcs? What was the next thing we did? Or congruent angles, what we did next? Anybody? Braden, do you remember the next step?
Nope.
Okay. I was just going to say, this sticks with no one. When I was told I had to teach geometry the first time, and I had to look it up, I was like, oh my gosh, how come I can't remember this? It's just not a memorable thing. All right, so here's the deal. We're going to measure, you see that first arc that we drew? You see the first arc? We're going to measure that distance. We're going to measure between this intersection and this intersection. So this is going to be step number 4. We're going to measure that distance as accurately as possible with our compass. So we're measuring the distance between here and here. So I'm right here. This is where mine usually goes bad because I don't do it accurately enough. I'm going to measure that distance right there. Boom. That's the distance.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what?
And then don't change it. We're going to use this.
Wait, so you, what?
I'm going to measure how far it is between here and here
Oh,
with the compass. We good?
Anyway.
All right, look up here. Once you have that distance,
Great.
I'm going to go to this point right here. And I'm going to put the point on it. And I'm going to draw where it would intersect with the arc. See what it did?
I gotta smell that.
From the arcline intersection of AC, closest to point A, that would be right here. Measure the distance from the intersections of the arcs on AC. Oh my gosh, this doesn't make any sense when you read it, right? That's the issue of trying to put, I don't know, trying to put words to describe something you're physically doing with an object. For some people, it makes perfect sense. For other people, it doesn't make much sense. So your steps were, you're going to do the constructions, and 2, you're going to do each individual step, ask me questions, and then I guess there's a 3rd step. If you don't like those words, they got to be in your own words so they make sense in your book of truth. All right, take a guess what the last step is. Oh, that is the last step. Second to last step. Well, what were we trying to make?
Listen to me, it's fine.
So where is our parallel line going to be?
draw the line for the two intersections.
You got it. So from C to where the 2 arcs intersect should be a parallel line. And if I did it accurately,
Mine ain't right there.
I should be a parallel line.
Mine is not right there.
Yeah, mine is, yeah.
Mine is so. Oh wait, no, from that one. Never mind.
Now you notice mine isn't perfect either. Mine, but it's close. Once again, the more accurate you can do this
I
procedure,
learned from this one.
the better you will be.
I was like, that's not right.
Oh, wait.
Dude, my line's so thick, dude.
You
Oh my
actually did exactly
gosh.
wrong.
It's double cheeked up.
Did anybody get a really good one?
Yeah,
I think mine's okay.
Okay, mine looks like it
mine's just too
goes
thick.
down a little bit as we go
Just
from
the
left to
channel.
right.
So you're feeling that.
But that's the procedure. And I can tell you where the error for me comes in is when I measure this right here and I put it over here, sometimes just my physical moving of it. That's why I like for those of you that have the compass that has a little round that makes it usually pretty darn accurate.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, my line's just too thick.
I would make it longer. I think yours is really good.
Oh my God.
You know, Miss Newburn said that you guys were doing this, and I said, no, they're not.
What?
Now I just saw it in my own eyes.
Probably. Yeah.
Oh, it's like, it's way worse.
Oh, yeah, it's wild.
You guys need to, that's like, don't do that.
Mike has ruined a couple of recordings.
That's not even cool.
Well, chemistry, yeah, but it's funny.
I don't know, man.
It's one of the
I will
most
make
fun
recordings
things.
and play it when you're seniors, you know, and
Do it.
Mike is going, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
It'll
Yeah,
just
yeah,
be a
yeah,
bunch of clips of Mike.
Right.
Yeah, just saying really bad things.
All the scrap recordings.
All right.
Have you shown them that?
all
They
right,
haven't seen it.
lights,
Huh?
please.
Oh, you did?
Okay, questions on anything we did?
Such a failure.
Just remember, last step
I'm not doing
would be labeled.
I'll do the homework when I get home. That's what my compass is. I mean,
All right, hey, here's the real deal. Listen up, listen up.
Wink, wink.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm right for the camera. None of these are, well, the last one's a little bit more challenging. I need you to practice this. We still have 10 minutes left of class.
Hi.
Pick whichever one you think was the hardest one and then all by yourself do it before you jump to homework, okay? Practice. The parallel line one for me was the one that I would forget, especially if I opened up for that first arc larger past C. It will still work, but you might forget what to do. All right, any questions on the 4 constructions we did?
Why does this exist?
Well, remember, when we did a proof, when we draw an auxiliary line, what do we use as a reason for making the auxiliary line? We say, make auxiliary line AB, what's our reason? We say construction every time. Well, we've been doing this thing called construction since we started doing proofs, and you've accepted the fact that you can do this. Well, Now I'm showing you how it's done. So when, hey guys, stop. When you draw a line that's perpendicular or you draw a line that's congruent, I mean, this is what allows you to do that in an actual proof, is the construction itself. All right, we're up to 7. It's really 8 of these if you include the circle, guys. 8 of these if you include the circle. They come fast and furious at you. You can forget how to do these very quickly. Do not show up on test day without this written in your book of truth. Hey, I gave you the instructions, right? It's got to be in your book of truth. You won't remember this stuff unless it's in your book of truth.
We just keep these pages in our book.
I'll make it bet. that I
Can you? No, that's a question. Can you?
Yes.
No, you cannot.
No, you can't. Because you lose like your lunch if it's not tied to you.
I don't know if I want to tell you exactly where it is.
I'm going to go in your locker and take it just to
I'm
prove you wrong.
My locker's locked.
I know, I have the combination. All right. Make sure they're in your book of truth. All right. Bree and anybody else online, any questions? By the way, this is for everyone. So the lesson gets posted by 8 every night. So if you're struggling with the construction and you want to see the video, I would absolutely pull up the video, right? At least it'll be something other than
Okay.
someone else's words. It'll be a demonstration of it. All right, I got nothing else for you. So the remainder of the time, knock out some homework, do some practices, but you